It's time to do business on this Monday afternoon here on Business Incorporated. We have 25 minutes to give you updates from the world of business. And here's what we have prepared for you today. We start from Angola, where that country is cutting its 2026 budget by 1.7% to 33.2 trillion kwanza. And then over in Egypt, the country is offering two sets of securities at this time. There's the Euro Treasury bills, and also it is launching its very first sovereign bond in local currency. Over in Kenya, cryptocurrency is the conversation there. So while they have their crypto laws, now there's a bit of adjustment to encourage more transactions on crypto platforms. So these are the details, these are the stories that we have, or some of the stories that we have for you. But first of all, let's begin from what's going on in the global space, where oil prices were a little changed despite news that OPEC Plus plans to end its supply increases, with the market weighed down by fears of oil supply glut and weak factory data that's coming from Asia. The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies, that's OPEC Plus, they agreed on Sunday to raise output by a small 137,000 barrels per day in December and pause increases in the first quarter of 2026. So we see the numbers for this afternoon. Brent and WTI, they both fell more than 2% for the month of October, down from a third straight month, hitting a 5-month low in that month. So for this afternoon, it's in the red, 0.09% for Brent, and the price is at $64.71 a barrel. WTI is also in the red, 0.13% at $60.90 a barrel. And of course, we know that while the pause are coming from the increases of OPEC, that's driving the markets at this time. We still have geopolitical talks, especially sanctions on Russia, also affecting the sentiment around oil. To the gold space now, where gold held steady on Monday, kept in check by a stronger dollar as investors dialed back bets for further Federal Reserve rate cuts following Chair Jerome Powell's hawkish remarks last week. And he has a press conference later this week, so of course that will also sway investors one way or the other. And still there's the talks, the easing that has come from US-China trade tensions. Also that has crimped down demand for the bullion. So we see that spot gold gained 0.28%, and it's, well, just about 4,000. It hasn't gone back to 4,100. So $4,007.60 per ounce. U.S. gold is also in the green this afternoon, 0.3% up at 4,008.60. Spot silver is up 0.21%. The price is $48.26 per ounce. Platinum is almost 2% in the green, and bringing the price to $1,606.70 per ounce. Palladium is 1.44% in the green, and the price is at $1,476 at this time. U.S. President Donald Trump last week said that he had agreed with Chinese President Xi Jinping to trim tariffs on China in exchange for concessions by Beijing to illicit trade, fentanyl trade. U.S. soybeans also, we saw the first lifting of that last week, the purchase of U.S. soybeans. So a relationship that seems to be working now. At least we do not hear of a lot of tension between two countries. And then we now come to Africa. Angola's government has announced plans to reduce its 2026 national budget by 1.7% to 33.2 trillion kwanza. That's about $39.4 billion. And this reflects efforts to tighten spending amid fluctuating oil revenues and economic headwinds. According to the Finance Ministry, the proposed budget prioritizes fiscal discipline while maintaining allocations for key sectors such as education, health, and infrastructure. In Egypt, the central bank has announced a dual move in its debt management strategy, offering euro-dominated treasury bills and launching the country's first sovereign bond denominated in Egyptian bonds, in Egyptian pounds. The initiative underscores Cairo's effort to diversify funding sources, strengthen local capital markets, and manage foreign currency obligations amid ongoing economic reforms. The CBE said it would offer 600 million pounds, that's about $648 million in one-year Treasury bills maturing in November next year, and the issuance is part of its short-term foreign borrowing program that's aimed at refinancing maturing debt and sustaining Egypt's foreign currency liquidity. We're still in Egypt, where the authorities have taken the extraordinary step of impounding a Russia-flagged oil tanker for failing to settle its transit fees through the Suez Canal. That's a move that underscores Cairo's growing resolve to protect one of its most important revenue sources amid global shipping turbulence. According to a report by TradeWinds, the vessel in question is the sanctioned tanker Dignity, which had been placed on blacklists by the United States, United Kingdom, and European Union earlier in 2025. Egypt's seizure of a sanctioned oil tanker for unpaid Suez Canal tolls marks a clear escalation in enforcement and underscores the strategic importance of the canal's revenue stream to the country. In Zimbabwe, they've achieved a landmark milestone in their agriculture sector, recording its highest ever wheat harvest in 2025 winter season and surpassing national consumption requirement. The country has recorded a historic 622,141 tons from the 2025 winter wheat season, surpassing last year's record of 562,091 tons and exceeding the national annual consumption requirement of 360,000 tons, with 96% of the harvest now complete and only 4,480 hectares remaining. The record-breaking output ensures a substantial surplus for the country's strategic grain reserve. And here in Nigeria, the Minister of State for Finance had a meeting with some strategic representatives of the Southeast business community here in Lagos. And the essence is to clear sentiments and discuss some of the expectations from the government, especially with the tax reforms and the challenges which the community faces in doing its business. This meeting is one which the Minister of State for Finance, Dr. Doris Uzokanite, has tagged Government-Private Sector Dialogue Series. This episode is focusing on Southeast Finance and Growth Roundtable. Individuals and associations concerned include the Association of Computer Village Technology Merchants of Nigeria, players in Alaba International Market Ojo, among others.
Today, I want us to look beyond transactions, beyond survival, beyond the daily hustle, and towards influence, strategy, and alignment. Because here is a truth we can no longer ignore. When business leaders focus only on profit and ignore policy, others will write the rules that determine your profit.
For the businessmen, this dialogue is long overdue, as they say they have been feeling alienated and unappreciated by the government.
Over the years, we build, government destroy. But from what I'm hearing today, it's like government is no longer destroyed, but they want to help us to rebuild.
Agencies responsible for regulating trade activities are also here to address some concerns.
Why is it that after we must have cleared our goods from the custom, from the ports, from the wharf, from the tin can, and on the way taking that goods to our warehouse, there is this group of people that call themselves federal operation. They will intercept the same goods on the road to our warehouse. And before you know it, they will divert this container to Ikeja. And before this container comes out, you will spend almost more than what you have paid to bring out the container.
No container is stopped after being duly released by customs in Canal and Port. As the lead agency, I'm going to accept responsibility. I'm taking this back as feedback, and it's going to be addressed in due course. But sir, I want you, at your own time, if you have documents to show for one or two things that happened that you're not comfortable about, I'll be very happy, the man will be happy, my cities will be happy for us to address it as it has come.
Beyond issues around customs, the coordinating minister of the economy, Mr. Wale Edun, is promising more opportunities to tackle the concerns of the group.
Now, the government is having its own committee that has to implement. And the dialogue that you asked for, I can assure you, will play a big role. There needs to be dialogue, there must be dialogue. Even the feedback that we are hearing here today is telling us that there's need for more explanation, more clarification, and when it comes to major reform, it's all about the timing, it's all about the sequencing, and as you say, it's all about the consultation.
The Minister of State for Finance has also asked that a WhatsApp group be created where members can freely and frequently share issues encountered in their operations for quick intervention. Cut. All right, now let's head to the markets and see the sustained bearish sentiment at Nigeria's stock market. This afternoon, it lost 0.06% intraday and still on 154, which looks threatened, by the way. If the trend continues, we may just lose the 154,000 level and see what happens from there. For JSE, that's Johannesburg, is just slightly up. Lost the 110 level, 110,000 level. Now it's 109,000. And for Egypt, it's positive, 0.56% in the green, while Kenya closed on Friday at 1.79% in the green, bringing the all share to 188.2. Now, move over to the Middle East, and we see mostly negative this afternoon. Dubai is negative 0.86. Abu Dhabi is also negative 0.59. Saudi Arabia negative 0.55, and Qatar also negative at the only positive as intraday, that's Qatar, 10,962.93. In the United States, stock features are just a little bit changed. And so we see a positive green there, 0.09% for the Dow. The S&P is also positive. NASDAQ, the tech guys, are doing much, much better, 0.61. Right there, Wall Street is coming off a winning session that added to the benchmark's October gains. And those gains were driven in part by continued momentum in the artificial intelligence. So that's why we see NASDAQ doing much better than a whole lot more. And of course, the earnings also did push some positive sentiment into the market in the United States, as well as the easing of the trade tension between the US and China. That also contributed to that. Moving over to Asia now, we see the Nikkei is 2.12%. We've seen them recover even before that agreement between the US and China was reached. And so they're sustaining that positive vibes. The Kospi is also positive. The Hang Seng is positive. We saw China's manufacturing activity today was released, but it slowed. It slowed to 50.6, missing the mark that was expected, about 50.9. It was released by the National Bureau of Statistics, and it shows that the manufacturing in October shrunk. Well, I guess that's expected with all of the tension that's been going on between China and the US. The Shanghai is positive, as well as India's Nifty 50. Let's stay with the markets now, where Lars joins us to tell us what's going on in Europe. Hi, Lars. Good afternoon. What's going on in the markets there?
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, Ini. Well, I can tell you we're having a great start into a new week. Actually, the European markets pretty much all in the green, and the DAX specifically really strong today, up way more than 1%, and that is something that we haven't seen in a couple of weeks. However, there is not much of a reason for these early gains, Ini. The Purchase Manager Index came in rather weak. The retail sector also has an outlook published, and they're less optimistic about the upcoming holiday shopping season. Not very surprising, of course, in an economically weak environment where consumers also have to watch their spending carefully. Also, machine builders are saying that business is still slow and that they are far below capacity these days. So there's really not a lot of good news out there, and yet the DAX is at least recovering from last week's weakness and actually gaining quite a few points.
So, I mean, I was talking about how the tension between US and China has eased, and we've seen some positive sentiment spread because of that. But what does that agreement in the US and China, what does it mean for Europe?
Well, yeah, you need to recap after their latest battle over tariffs and exports and rare earths and such. US President Trump, of course, has once again lowered tariffs against China, and China now keeps exporting their resources for a year. So even though there is a deal between the two superpowers for now, it is not for all eternity, and that's good and bad for Europe, as we've been caught in the middle here of all this. Now, it's definitely good news, of course, that some of these resources are being delivered again, and industry insiders here are warning that companies better hurry and use this time now to fill up their storage, but also, of course, to work on long-term solutions, because, and I guess that's where we're getting into the bad news, we're looking at a window of a year that's now been opened, and there's a few other problems too. Other companies in other markets will also hurry to store as much of the critical resources as they can get. That is likely to drive up prices, of course. And, you know, we're also talking about light rare earths here for now, the so-called heavy rare earths are still banned from export. Now, for the chemistry nerds, I guess, out there, those heavy ones are samarium, gadolinium, dysprosium, terbium, lutetium, scandium, and yttrium. For those, Europe and Germany were all entirely and to 100% dependent on China, because no one outside China really has the refining capacities for these elements. Yet they're very important. Of course, the problem in general is ongoing.
Yeah, but I mean, thank you, Lars. I mean, you were able to list a lot of them. That's impressive, I have to tell you. But I mean, you talked about long-term strategy. Any ideas what Europe plans to have as its strategy after this 1 year or further?
Yeah, well, it's a twofold approach. First of all, Brussels will have to make sure they're coming to an agreement with Beijing over future deliveries. Experts here in Germany, including those speaking for the auto industry suppliers and other mass buyers of rare earth, they're saying that we need a deal entirely separate from the United States. And then to have a long-term solution, there is no other way than diversifying. Chancellor Merz has already approached Turkey's President Erdogan. There are talks with Canada, and the idea of using Canada's influence on the Pacific Rim states to open up new supplies. That will take a while, of course, but it is the only way to escape total dependence on China in the long run.
All right, thank you so much, Lars, for that. Certainly, we'll see what happens before the 1 year elapses and see if the strategies will work. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you, Ini. Thank you.
All right, now let's see what's happening in the crypto space at this time. I wonder if we could have the numbers and see the picture or the color of the picture. So, okay, before that comes, well, the talks that we have here, they've not gone unnoticed, and we appreciate Cyberchain they organized a conference and recognized, you know, our segment here on cryptocurrency, and it's all towards the drive towards a digital economy where leaders and innovators, they gathered for the Tokenized Economy Conference. That's what they called it for this year. And Laddie Williams was there and filed in this report.
The Cyberchain Tokenized Economy Conference, it held at the NAF Conference Center in Abuja, brought together a critical mass of experts and policymakers. Organized by Cyberchain, Africa's leading Web3 and digital economy aggregator, the primary aim was to explore opportunities in emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain, and cybersecurity.
Please keep clapping for him.
First, a word from the convener.
We have educators in the Web3 space that spend time trying to let people know about this ecosystem. Those are the people that build and unlock opportunities. We have innovators that keep grinding and building and grinding to bring solutions, to solve issues for us. They don't chase hype. They try to bring value for us.
This second edition of Tokenized Economy Conference focused on the pain points of cryptocurrency and digital assets. Regulatory clarity was a major discussion point, highlighted by members from the SEC and NIDA.
Blockchain has the power to transform Nigeria's economy, but only if it operates within a system that ensures its benefits are equitably shared and its risks are responsibly managed. While your actions and inactions will ultimately define the trajectory of this market segment, the Securities and Exchange Commission is poised to closely superintend it through increased learning and capacity.
NIDA views blockchain as not as a disruptive threat, but as a foundational layer upon which the next era of digital trust will be built. Our mandate is clear: to ensure the secure, sustainable, and equitable adoption of technology that drives our economic diversification.
And then the awards, as Channels Television is recognized for its efforts in disseminating news about cryptocurrency, digital assets, and blockchain technology.
This award for the efforts that you have put into bringing the ideas of blockchain technology to the forefront. Congratulations. I'm proud to be associated with Channels TV too.
The conference provided a pivotal platform for dialogue, bringing together diverse stakeholders to lay the groundwork for a secure, transparent, and tokenized future for the nation's economy.
Feels good to be recognized. Congratulations to Channels Television, and thank you so much for that recognition at that conference. So we see Bitcoin for this afternoon. It's down 107,973.06. It lost 2.76% in 24 hours. Is it a good time to get on board and get some of those percentage of Bitcoin? Perhaps you find out what your crystal ball is saying. And unfortunately also we see that Ethereum has lost the $4,000 level. But we hear that Ethereum should be your Christmas gift, a gift you should give to yourself this Christmas. So maybe it's good for you as an investor, a would-be investor, that it's gone this low, lost more than 4% in 24 hours perhaps. XRP, everybody's in the red at this time. Now there are other stories making the rounds in the crypto space. Kenya, they're really serious about their crypto laws and making it big through crypto. So we've seen the government modifying their taxes and cryptocurrencies and digital assets. They're pivoting from a broad tax on every transaction. Now they made it narrower. It's going to be levy on platform service fees. So I guess that should encourage more transactions, more individuals to embrace cryptocurrency transactions. Also, BTC miners, they've deposited 210,000 coins to exchanges worth over $14 billion in October. Talking about activities in October, marking one of the largest monthly outflows from mining wallets this year, according to data from on-chain analytic firms. Then there's also the thing about, the Binance founder that has been here, the senior executive of Binance right here. So the Binance founder, CZ, has accused the Nigerian government of detaining one of the cryptocurrency exchange senior executive who's been here. He's been detained here since February 2024. It's over a year now. If I head into 2 years, and conversation is coming up. He shared this in a social media post, the platform, X platform, and is bringing up some conversation. Let's talk to Rume Ofi now, what the community is saying about this and perhaps how it's affecting us, in spite of some efforts which we see from the government to encourage cryptocurrency transactions and adoption. Perhaps this could be a clog in the wheel. Rume, what are you guys talking about this? Welcome to the program, though.
Thank you very much, Ini. Good afternoon, and congratulations to Channels for the award from Cyberchain.
Thank you.
Yeah, so what happened is the fact that the former CEO of Binance that was just given pardon by Donald Trump, in the heat of the conversation around Trump saying that he's going to invade Nigeria with his defense team because of insecurity and everything, CZ actually jumped on the narrative to say that that was exactly how Nigeria kidnapped his ex-executive and demanding ransom of some sort, So a couple of us kicked against that, because the truth is, if you want to speak directly to either agents of government or maybe government, but you say Nigerians, you're saying entire Nigeria people are kidnappers, putting us in a bad light. If you look critically at this, you find out that it's more or less trying to throw the baby away with the bathwater. A couple of us here kicked against the action of Tigran Gabriel when he was detained. Nigeria has its own laws, as other countries. If you look at it critically, the US have Binance US because it has to meet the standard of the US market, and that's how it is in other parts of the world. And Nigeria is not an exception. So, if Nigeria holds the executive at some point, pending certain investigation that could come up, it's the prerogative of the country to do that. But when you say Nigeria actually kidnapped your ex-executive, you are just putting Nigeria in a very bad light. And this issue we spoke about, we told government that it is actually making us look bad. And a couple of us are actually lost opportunity. Me personally, there's a platform at some point. The fact that they know that I'm a Nigerian, I lost the opportunity just because of that issue where Tiger was detained here for the longest of time. So we didn't like the fact that CZ came out to say that, and a lot of persons actually spoke about it for and against. For some of us that I always say large majority, we have just one country, which is Nigeria. Yes. And even if we don't like the system, doesn't mean we have to hate
we can't throw the baby away with the bath water. It's still our country. Exactly. Thank you so much, Rima. And we hope that individuals like yourself will continue defending the country. I mean, when we see posts like this, for our own good and for our children's good. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much, Ines. My pleasure.
All right. So that's it on the program. Thank you so much for being a part of Business Incorporated. It's a new week. We've just started the journey. We'll still have 4 more days to go. But I'll see you tonight for the stock market report. I'm Ini John Mekwa. Bye-bye.